is the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.
And with that, we're back. They didn't kick us off the air. Season 2 of the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show begins today. Season 1 saw both the Dallas Stars and the Dallas Mavericks make deep playoff runs. Maybe this show is the elixir, Dallas Cowboys. Jump on board.
I think not. Interesting perspective. They might not have kicked us out, but they changed location. First and foremost.
We got new digs.
New digs.
We upgraded. We're at the grown-ups table now.
Well, at the grown-ups table, but we should be talking about swimming and diving. I'll keep saying that.
No.
We missed an opportunity for 3 months
to
talk about.
The Olympics was fun. I did
enjoy it. The Olympics was awesome. It was great. Not necessarily for U.S. men's swimming, but we can get into that another time. Either way, we got a lot of Cowboy stuff to talk about. So let's get into what's on the show, sponsored by NFM.
Here's What's on the Show, sponsored by NFM.
We have finally reached the start of the NFL season. Big questions loom, though, over the Cowboys, namely with quarterback Dak Prescott and his back and forth with Jerry Jones. We'll delve into the tea leaves there, plus a look ahead at the Cowboys' schedule and its return of everyone except Michelle's favorite segment, no fence riding, with some shots at college football. That is What's on the Show, Mike. Now, who's on the show?
On the show today, Saad Yousuf of The Athletic and Clarence Hill, no longer of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, now from All City Dallas. Fellas, it has been an active offseason for the Dallas Cowboys, particularly this last week between Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott, and a number of things have been said. What do you guys make of it?
I'm thinking maybe they're both trolling us, but really, I think Dak is tired of the circus, and you heard that in his voice. He's tired of being part of the show, in the sense of Jerry's show and like to push the envelope and say things for public consumption. That doesn't mean that Dak doesn't want to be here. So I don't want any people to, he would love to get a contract here. He would love to continue his career. This is his childhood team, and he would love to continue being Cowboys quarterback. But Dak is at a point where he's coming off the best season of his career. And he's in the catbird seat. Either the Cowboys pay him or somebody else is going to pay him.
It goes back to the very first press conference he had in Oxnard when, he was thinking twice about should he say something on the podium, and he just kind of verbalized it and said, you know what, I'm just going to go and say it. And then he did. And I feel like that's what we saw this last week as well when Clarence was asking him those questions. I feel like the 2018 Dak Prescott, when Clarence asked, would you like to get a deal done? I think 2018 Dak would have just been like, sure, of course. But 2024 Dak is just, he took it to another level. So I think we're just seeing a looser version of what Dak has always been.
Clarence, I saw a tweet from one of your colleagues at All City Dallas, Jeff Kavanaugh, in the last couple of days, something along the lines of either Dak really does hate Jerry, or he's just graduated to that point in the Jerry game that he gets it on a level where he's fist bumping him in the hallway. Like, we're just egging people on and just keeping people, like, it could be either one of those scenarios right now. I think also somewhat has to do with there are so many Cowboys fans that have completely gone off the deep end as it relates to Dak Prescott and the way he plays the position. And I think he is sick of a lot of that discourse.
There's no question. And he's one of the most disrespected quarterbacks in the league, and his career and what he's done in disrespect. I brought up on Twitter the other day, and so people talk about he just needs to win a playoff game. Do you think Cowboy fans and Dak critics and Cowboys critics be satisfied if they won 2 playoff games? This is the Cowboys. They don't hang division title banners at AT&T Stadium. Actually, they hang no banners at AT&T Stadium because they've won nothing at AT&T Stadium. They won all the Super Bowls at Texas Stadium. But the point is, they don't hang division title banners. They don't hang conference championship banners. Danny White went to 3 straight NFC title games, and people act like he's a trash quarterback. Mm-hmm. Okay? He should be celebrated. He should be celebrated as the 3rd best quarterback in Cowboys history for what he's done. But no one thinks that. Okay.
Let me jump in there real quick, Clarence, because I want to ask, and I've had this argument with Mike off and on for like the last, a couple months here, but how much of this is perspective on Cowboys fans? Because we're not talking about a playoff win. We're talking 2 in a trip to the NFC Championship game, potentially 1. We don't know whether or not they're going to have a bye week. How much of this is looking at the first 30 years of their history and now looking at the 27 of futility that has essentially taken over the entire franchise?
Yeah, this is about 28 years, 29 years now of frustration. 5 playoff wins since their last trip to the Super Bowl title in 1996. 4 since I've been covering the Cowboys. That's why I was confused. But 5 total playoff wins since then. So all of that is what's on Dak's back, what's on Micah's back, what's on Mike McCarthy's back. Certainly the past 3 years, it's about that as well. But it's also about the 27 years, 28 years that the Cowboys have not sniffed even the NFC title game. And so that's part of what they're having to deal with. But again, it's a national thing. I mean, I get people telling me that the Cowboys have been mediocre the last 3 years. They're 12-5, 12-5, and 12-5.
Yeah.
They're not mediocre, but people think because they haven't succeeded in the playoffs that they've sucked, and that's not true.
Saad, jump back in here.
Saad, I want to be a little more pointed with you, though, real quick. Do we think this is going to be Dak's last year in Dallas, or do we think he's going to hit the open market and see where things lead?
I do feel like there's a 49% chance that it's his last year. I would still lean a little bit towards him returning and being back in 2025 because I just feel like if he has the success in the postseason, I do think that he'll get the contract, whatever contract he's looking for, he'll get that from Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. So I'm not going to rule it out, and I would say slightly just because of everything Clarence said, this is still Dak's childhood team, the one that he loved, and he still likes all the perks that come with being the Cowboys quarterback because there's a lot. He has a platform with the Cowboys being the Cowboys starting quarterback that he wouldn't have in most other places. So I do think if he does get the job done in January and if he does have the realistic chance, I do think he's back, but I feel a lot more unsure about that than I did about 4 months ago.
I'm in a similar percentage range, though, and that percentage has dropped dramatically over the course of the last 2 months. I would have been 85, 90% in July, and every time Jerry talks, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. To Clarence's point about Dak being maybe the most disrespected quarterback in the NFL, he's not the only one that hasn't won a whole bunch of playoff games. There is one truly viable star quarterback in the NFL right now who has won a Super Bowl, and his name is Patrick Mahomes. The other active quarterbacks that have won a Super Bowl are either Matt Stafford, way on the back end of his career, Nick Foles, never really did much of anything, or Russell Wilson, who's washed. That's it. And yet Dak's the only one that is talked about ad nauseum like this. There are others that are talked about, but not quite to the level and the way that Dak is.
Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, has been to 2 Super Bowls. Getting to the Super Bowl don't mean you're great, okay? And so people put too much emphasis. It's a team game. They put too much emphasis on this. But regarding Dak's contract, I'm more of a 70-30 guy. He's back because understand this: if Dak's not on this team next year, he counts $40 million against the cap. Okay, the Cowboys have put themselves in a corner. Okay, so you pay Dak $40 million not to be here, plus you sign a quarterback, and your quarterback room is going to be what, 10, 15 million. You're not going to pay the big money, but it'll be the same money that you would be if you signed Dak to a deal. Okay, they want to sign Dak to a deal.
Next year's free agency crop in quarterbacks is awful. The draft isn't looking great for quarterbacks either. So you really don't have a whole lot of options if you're trying to keep winning right now.
And to that point, and I'm glad you brought it up because I was meant to bring that up. You remember the quarterback abyss between Troy Aikman and Tony Romo?
No, we don't actually. That's the point.
And evidently, Cowboys fans don't remember it well enough.
Jerry does not want to go back on that quarterback abyss.
Not at all.
Well, we talk about it's all based on a great season. We'll talk about that season coming up. Stay with us on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show.
Today's headlines, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers.
Yes, we're leading with golf. Scotty Scheffler wins the Tour Championship by 4 strokes at 30 under. His winnings, $25 million. Not bad. And the Rangers walk it off again. Josh Young, the hero, with a 3-run bomb as Texas beats Oakland 6-4.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. We've talked a lot about, I suppose, the expectations for this team, right? And what we all kind of anticipate, maybe a down year after 3 straight 12-win seasons. But I'll be honest, I've looked at the schedule a couple times and waffled between either an 8-win team or, again, 12 wins because it feels like their schedule is dependent on.
It's a wide waffle.
I know, because some of them, the road games aren't as tough as I thought they would be, and they're getting like the Niners off a bye week, for instance, so there's at least a chance that they could pull one out of the hat on that. I'm saying, Clarence saying no. Clarence saying no. But I'm saying, like, there's enough interesting topics to dive into. So I'm curious, Mike, we'll start with you. Where do you think fans should look at for a realistic record for this season?
I think they're still good. I think we have chicken littled our way into thinking that this team's going to be terrible. Right. They're not going to be terrible. There's still plenty of talent on the roster. They're still a good football team. But I think the reason why Cowboys fans have been so despondent over the course of this offseason is there's nothing to point to that makes you go, okay, that made them better than they were last year, so that you've got hope that it's going to be a better season. There's nothing there. Dalvin Cook and Eric Kendricks, I like both of those additions a little bit, but not enough to make you feel like this is going to be a better football team. I do still think there's talent there. I think their defense could be as good as it was last year, plugging in Trayvon Diggs in place of Stephon Gilmore.
Diggs is the big one to me.
The Deron Bland of it all concerns me. I think they're a 10-win team. I think they're still good, but they're not as good as they've been the last couple of years.
So double digits over here. Clarence, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm at 10 wins, maybe 11, maybe 9, depending on the day. But, I look at the schedule, and I think a lot will be said about this team in the first month and a half of the season. Understand, they started Cleveland. They also have Pittsburgh. They also have Baltimore. They also have Detroit. They also have at San Francisco. And you say it's coming off the bye, but consider all those teams they played before October 13th. That's a tough gauntlet before October 13th. And you mix in the Giants, you mix in the Saints. But that's a tough gauntlet before October 13th. So we'll find out a lot about this team. Of course, the goal is to play your best at the end, not at the beginning, at least for this Cowboys team, which hasn't always played their best football in the playoffs when it matters most. But I still think they have the best quarterback in the NFCs, the best receiver in the NFCs, the best pass rush in the NFCs, the two best guards in the NFCs, and certainly with Deron Bland, the best quarterback tandem in the NFCs. And Zimmer, I think, will make a difference for that defense. So this is a playoff team. Again, once you get to the playoffs, it's pot luck with the Cowboys, as it's always been.
Saad, what do you think?
For me, it's between 10 and 12 wins. And to y'all's point, this is still a very good roster. And I think we lose sight of that a little bit because of the order of that the Cowboys do business. There's Linval Joseph coming in, Dalvin Cook, Carl Lawson. I know he's on the practice squad, but was a late signing. They signed all these guys in training camp, whereas most people are looking for these signings to come in free agency. But at the end of the day, they did make moves to compensate for some of the losses that they had in free agency. And Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe look really good. Kalen Carson, Marshawn Nealon, it looks like they're going to get something from this rookie class. So for all those reasons, I think 10 to 12 wins anywhere in that, as long as the quarterback is healthy and the pass rusher is healthy. I think those two things are the most important thing.
So where are you on your waffle?
I think I'm closer to 12 wins, and I think Clarence is right that I'm looking at the first 4 games as kind of the barometer, where last year they tripped on the Cardinals in week 3, but starting with the Browns on the road, sure, but Deshaun Watson's one of the biggest question marks in the NFL, and your defense should feast on him considering the turnover rate he had last year. The Steelers are a question mark at quarterback, and the Saints, I think everyone's kind of feeling like they're at the bottom of the league, so you're at least thinking 3-1, hopefully, depending on what happens with the Ravens, but if you're 3-1 to start, I feel like you're in a good spot. If you're 2-2 and you start, stumbling a little bit out the gate, that's when things get hairy, and then I think you're probably closer to 10, even 9 wins.
Cleveland is very good at home.
Right.
You look at last year; they are a different team at home than on the road. So yeah, you can say about Deshaun Watson, that's a tough team at home,
especially defensively. But that's also kind of the question: is will CD coming off of no training camp, and we like to overrate training camp's importance on the season on some level, but how much rust will he have? How much rust will this offense have out of the gates? Because they were finally on all cylinders late, but they started kind of sluggish early last year. First 3 or 4 games, we were kind of waiting to see things pick up, and I think it was right around the Patriots game when they really started putting the pedal to the metal.
Yeah, I have no concerns about the offense, and I think that Dak Prescott has done a good job moving the ball without CD in training camp. You add him to the mix. I mean, Tolbert is ready to take a step, but Brandon Cooks had a great camp. My biggest concern, at least starting out, is the run defense. And you have to stop the run against Cleveland.
Well, regardless of what everyone's thinking, we're going to find out 1 week from now. Can't wait to see what happens. All right, stay with us on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. No fence riding up next.
And now it's time for No Fence Riding, sponsored by the Fort Worth Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. Time now for No Fence Riding. I got a series of statements to present to our esteemed panel, and they have to decide which side of the fence they land on. As Mike mentioned earlier, no waffling. So let's get it started with something I feel like it might be a little controversial. The return of college football is overrated. Yeah, college football, where the preseason's rankings are made up, but somehow the losses still matter. And I don't know who else ran into this yesterday. But first college football weekend, Saturday, everyone's hyped up. I'm flipping channels. I'm trying to find a good game. Everything's 52-0. Maybe there's one that's one score. The Vanderbilt-Virginia Tech game was okay for the early window, but Georgia turned the Clemson game into a blowout. I didn't get a lot out of the opening weekend that I felt like I was ready for, and I feel like, as usual, I'm waiting for about 6 weeks down the line when these matchups really matter. Now, granted, Texas-Michigan next week is a different story, but Clarence, I'll start with you. What do you think on this?
Who's your team?
Who's my team? Michigan, technically, but and Michigan, NDSU,
okay.
Yeah, stuff like that.
We got two sides of the coin now. I didn't realize that.
I'm feeling great. That's all I'm saying.
Is Michigan your team? I just want to know, is Michigan team?
Sure, I'm this close to disowning them. Like Astros fans should disown the Astros after the cheating scandal. But you know what? We'll take the national championship however we can get it.
And the only reason I say that is when you have a team, when you truly have a team, this is Christmas. I'm sorry. I was waiting for college football, and starting Thursday night with the Colorado game to what we saw this weekend. And my friend was mad at it's 52-0. Why are you watching? Why are you watching the backups? Because I like to watch the backups. I want to see if somebody gets hurt to go into the game against Michigan. I want to see what my backup does. Okay, so I want to see that. But the Notre Dame A&M game, I mean,
that was good.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt upset.
Yeah, I have to disagree with you too, Andrew. Just because for me, it's I don't have any college football allegiances, but as purely a football fan, college football's return just kind of feels as part of the ramp up to football season. It's always before week 1 of the NFL, so you're kind of meaningful football is finally in the air, and it just like Clarence said, the best example really is it's December 25th. Like it is Christmas morning.
And Saad, I know you're a cold weather guy too, so it's a sign that finally we're getting to that point that the heat's about to go away too. I'm with you guys. Like, it's football season. Sure, are all of the matchups sexy? No.
Most of them aren't for the first, month of the season.
But
That's all I'm saying.
But there's still enough of them that it's worth watching. Ashton Ginty is the kid from Boise State. Local kid, went to Frisco Lone Star. 6 freaking touchdowns yesterday. That dude is unreal. Heisman potential.
All right. We'll stay in college football, though, for topic number 2. And this one gets a little bit more interesting, I think. College football is too much of a professional product. And this isn't even necessarily paying players and everything that's come out of NIL. And we can get into the ramifications of that another time, because I have a lot to say about that specifically. But when you got Miami, who has a 9-year senior on the roster, and they're all pumping this up like it's a huge story because he's been injured 3 times and he finally gets his 4 years of college scholarship. I'm going, he's 26 years old, playing with some of these kids that are just coming out of high school that are 18. Then all of a sudden you got an active transfer portal, so it's hard to really glom onto people for more than one specific year. Now you have a fully fledged playoff system, which we've all been waiting for. But to me, I feel like we're 5 years away from dropping the NCAA label entirely and just calling it minor league football.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with all your points there. I understand where you're coming from, but I really don't have too much of a problem with it because there is no minor league for the NFL. So for me to view it that way, I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, I remember watching Shane Buechele, and it felt like that guy was in college football for a decade, with just how much he moved around. And he was and I know he was in the state of Texas the whole time. So there's that. But yeah, I can see what you're talking about, but I guess I don't really have an issue with that, even though I understand your points there.
Clarence, jump in here.
Well, I think some of these is COVID related because a lot of people have the COVID extra year, and there's people that are playing longer. And, I think those are fewer and far between. But let's be honest. It's always been pro football. The amateurism has been a sham. It's been a sham for the universities and the networks, and Nike and the players were getting nothing. It's always been a sham. So it's always been professional sports. They've been paying under the table. You know what NIL stands for? Now it's legal.
If the amateurism was part of your draw to college football, then there was probably a certain amount of willful ignorance here.
Sure, of course.
To that, because to Clarence's point, it's always kind of been this way. It's just now we're taking the blinders off. Now we're taking the governor off. And there probably does need to be some there need to be some guardrails put in place in some form with the transfer portal and with NIL.
QR codes on the helmets and all
that.
Well,
and they wiped that out. The NCAA said no to that at like the 11th hour. We want to watch fun football games. Did anybody really care that Eric Dickerson had a Trans Am?
Well, this station
No,
did.
it made no difference to what was happening on the field. We just wanted to watch football.
They're Lamborghinis now.
Exactly. Who cares? Yeah.
Lambos.
We've got to say goodbye to our panel. Saad and Clarence, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you guys being here, helping us kick off the first show of the fall 2024 season. Fellas, great job. We appreciate you guys being here.
Thanks for having me. I just want to say I'm here with a heavy heart for Darren Burks, the police officer in Dallas that was killed. He was a friend of mine. He's a frat brother of mine, and that's really taken a toll on the community.
Amen, Clarence. Amen, 100%. Our thoughts are absolutely with his family and with the Dallas Police Department for sure. I appreciate you saying that very, very much. Fellas, thank you guys so much. We will be back on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show right after this.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. Time now for Mike's Final Take.
Let's talk high school football for a second. DeSoto Eagles, #1 team in the state, 6A Division II defending state champions, beat the 6A D1 state champions Duncanville last year in the regular season. DeSoto is the best team in Texas as of right now today. A team from Georgia yesterday came to Texas.
I saw this.
They played for a 5A Georgia State Championship last year, Creekside High School. DeSoto beat them 70-0.
Yeah, there's a slight difference in weight class.
Well, but see, here's the thing. Is that
right,
was the,
I know.
Whoa.
Yeah.
They dropped down to 4A. No, in fact, on further exploration on this that I've done in the last 24 hours since I first started talking about this, they changed the nomenclature in Georgia. There is no longer a 7A. So they didn't drop down. Everybody dropped down. They're still playing with the same classification of teams that they're playing. What really matters here, because every state does it differently, DeSoto's not a 6A program, by the way. They're a 5A program playing up. Their enrollment, 2126. Creekside's enrollment, 1768, if what I found on Google is accurate. DeSoto's bigger, not that much bigger. 89 kids per graduating class. And they beat the mess out of them. Yes, the point that I made last night, I will stand by today. Texas high school football is better than anywhere else, and it's really not all that close.
This is Mike's pitch for bringing back the high school sports. On that note,
and this is the final Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. Good night, everybody.
Thank you guys so much for watching the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. We will
be back next week.
This has been the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.